If you think Amish couples avoid modern romance because they don't believe in love, you're completely wrong. In fact, that's exactly why they avoid it. Because where I came from, love was never supposed to be loud. It was never supposed to be flashy, public, or performed for attention. No late-night texting, no kissing pictures, no soft launch on social media, no matching outfits, no dramatic anniversary posts about soulmates and forever. The Amish don't avoid modern romance because they're cold. They avoid it because they believe romance becomes dangerous the moment it starts being more about display than devotion. That's the part most outsiders never understand. People look at Amish couples and assume there's no passion there. No excitement, no chemistry, just rules, silence, and obedience. But the truth is much more uncomfortable than that. The feelings are there, sometimes stronger than people on the outside could ever imagine. But from the very beginning, those feelings are trained to stay under control, hidden, disciplined, contained. Because in Amish life, love is not treated like entertainment. It's treated like something heavy, something that can shape your whole future, your family, your place in the church, and the rest of your life. And once you understand that, modern romance starts to look very different through Amish eyes. Because modern romance is built on visibility. It wants to be seen. It thrives on flirting, public affection, constant communication, and emotional display. It rewards intensity before commitment. It celebrates chemistry before character. It tells you that if it feels good, it must be right. But Amish courtship doesn't trust feelings that move too fast. It doesn't trust attraction when it has no structure around it. And it definitely doesn't trust a kind of romance that makes two people forget everyone else watching. That's why so much of Amish dating feels almost invisible if you don't know what you're looking at. It starts quietly, usually at singings, church gatherings, youth events, buggy rides home. Nothing about it looks dramatic from the outside. No candles, no fancy restaurants, no private hotel weekends, no big proposal videos, just long tables, hymns, side glances, careful words, and the slow awareness that one boy keeps offering the same girl a ride home. That is how something serious begins. Not with a public claim, with a pattern, a signal, a kind of restraint that says more because it reveals less. And honestly, that was one of the strangest things for me when I was younger. I remember watching couples on the outside and thinking their version of romance looked almost unreal. So open, so easy, so immediate. They could say anything, touch anytime, be alone whenever they wanted, and call that freedom. But where I came from, freedom wasn't the same as safety. We were taught that when romance moves too fast, feelings get ahead of wisdom. Desire gets ahead of commitment. And once that happens, the whole relationship can become built on heat instead of foundation. I didn't fully understand that when I was young. I still remember one Sunday night singing when I was barely old enough to think seriously about courtship. Everyone was laughing, eating, talking in those careful little circles where everybody pretended not to notice who was interested in whom. And there was this one moment I still can't forget. A boy offered a girl a ride home, and the whole room felt it before either of them said much at all. No touching, no dramatic flirting, no big confession, just that quiet offer. And the way she looked down for half a second before saying yes. It was such a small thing, but in our world it meant everything. I remember feeling almost shaken by how powerful that moment was, not because it was bold, but because it wasn't. Because it carried weight, intention, consequence. That's what modern romance often removes, consequence. In the outside world, romance can be playful, experimental, temporary. You can talk for weeks, disappear overnight, come back, keep things casual, test chemistry, keep options open, and call it normal. But Amish couples are raised inside a system where dating is never supposed to be casual for long. The purpose is marriage. The direction is serious from the start. Even when young people have feelings, the structure around them is always whispering the same thing. Be careful what you awaken if you are not ready to carry it all the way. And yes, that creates pressure. A lot of it. That's one of the taboo truths nobody wants to say out loud. Amish couples avoid modern romance partly because modern romance gives people room to explore desire without immediate lifelong consequences. Amish life doesn't really allow that same emotional playground. There is no culture of just seeing where this goes. No approved way to build intimacy through endless private conversations, sleepovers, vacations, and physical closeness before commitment. The line is clear, too clear sometimes. And because the line is so clear, romance itself becomes something almost dangerous. Not bad, not evil, but powerful enough that it has to be controlled before it controls you. That's why public affection is so limited. That's why privacy is watched. That's why serious relationships often stay quiet. That's why engagement can be hidden for months. That's why even deep love is expected to wear a plain face in public. It isn't because the feelings aren't real. It's because real feelings are considered too important to turn into spectacle. There's also another reason Amish couples avoid modern romance, and this one broke my heart when I understood it more clearly. Modern romance is obsessed with the individual. What do I feel? What do I want? What makes me happy? What excites me? What fulfills me? Amish marriage, on the other hand, is built inside the community before it is built around the self. Your relationship is not just yours. It reflects on your family, your church, your future home, your children, your entire identity. That makes love feel less private in one sense, but more protected in another, because it forces people to ask harder questions earlier. Not just, do I want this person, but can I build a life with them under the weight of real responsibility? Of course, there's a dark side to that too. When romance is always restrained, some people never learn how to express love freely. When desire is treated with so much caution, some people carry shame into marriage. When relationships are pushed towards seriousness so quickly, some people confuse obedience with compatibility. So no, I'm not saying Amish courtship is perfect. It isn't. Sometimes what looks like purity is really fear. Sometimes what looks like discipline is emotional suppression. Sometimes people stay quiet because they were never taught another way. But even with all of that, I understand why Amish couples distrust modern romance. Because modern romance often asks people to feel everything before they've built anything. It teaches attachment before sacrifice, performance before patience, excitement before endurance. It can make love look beautiful while making commitment feel optional. And in Amish culture, that is backwards, completely backwards. There, love is supposed to prove itself in slowness, in consistency, in seriousness, in whether two people can carry duty, faith, family, and restraint without falling apart the moment the feelings cool down. So when people ask me why Amish couples avoid modern romance, my answer is simple. They avoid it because they think romance without boundaries burns too hot and dies too fast. They avoid it because they fear what happens when attraction becomes entertainment. They avoid it because they were taught that the strongest love is the kind that can survive being unseen. And maybe the strangest part is this. For all the things I struggle with when I look back on Amish life, that belief still haunts me a little. Because sometimes I look at the outside world and wonder if we've confused being expressive with being sincere. If we've mistaken attention for intimacy. If we've made romance so public, so immediate, and so performative that we barely recognize devotion unless it comes with a caption. The Amish don't avoid modern romance because they don't want love. They avoid it because they think love is too sacred to turn into a show, too serious to risk on impulse, too life-changing to hand over to feelings alone. And once you really understand that, their silence starts saying a lot more than our noise ever does.